everybody, welcome back to Journey to VR. So this week is part 2 of my animation demo showing how we can get character animation from Maya into Unity. And this week we're going to be covering off topics that are a little bit more advanced. We're going to be looking at the time editor inside of Maya and using that to make some modifications to the motion capture data. And we're also going to be looking at the game exporter, and I'm going to show you a workflow where we can export out the animation files independent of the model files, which gives you a little bit more flexibility downstream inside of Unity. So that's what we're going to be checking out today. Let's hop into Maya and begin. So the first thing we want to do is get our file over to Unity, our little character file. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab the joints that we want to get exported out, which is just all the bones that go ahead and make up the hierarchy that drags the skinned geometry around. And we'll grab the geometry file, and we're basically going to send this over to Unity. So we'll say export to Unity. Selection, it's going to take me into my directory, and I'm just going to overwrite this guy right here, and we'll send our dude over. Now this is going to be in the form of an FBX file. We don't want to include the animation. We just want the basic file in his kind of T-pose. So with that done, we can now jump over into Unity, and you'll see that we've now got our character kind of coming in, and he's here. So if we just drag and drop that guy into our scene, you can see there's our little guy hanging out. So pretty straightforward. There's no animation on him yet. So now we're going to jump back into Maya and get some animation to bring into Unity. So the first thing that we want to do is I've already got my character mapped onto that control rig. So if we just say none here, this is sort of where we left off in the last demo with all that animation data sitting on that high level series of controls. And what I want to do is I want to make some changes or some modifications to this guy's arm, like where his hand's kind of passing into his head here a little bit. We're going to make some tweaks or some fixes to that, and we're going to be using Maya's time editor to do this. And the time editor is really, really awesome. Came out a couple releases ago, and it's been steadily improving over the last few releases, and it's just a really great nonlinear editing environment inside of Maya. So we're going to use that to modify or fix some animation problems. So we'll jump over to our graph editor. I'm just going to switch on the time editor by clicking the little icon in the right-hand corner here. And what we want to do is we want to load up all the animation controllers. So I've selected all of those guys, and we're going to create a new content from our current selection in our scene. So as soon as we do that, the time editor now is basically driving Maya, right? The time editor has control over what we're seeing in our viewport. So as I kind of move the time slider around or change positions of this clip or scale the clip or do any cuts or slices or nonlinear editing, obviously all that's going to affect ultimately the character that's being driven by that data. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and we want to start to modify that hand. So we're going to grab one of these controllers, this controller right here, and we're going to layer some animation on top of this base animation. So that's really straightforward to do. Just grab the clip, the object that you want to have a modification done or a tweak done to, and click the Create Additive Layer Override button. So you can see now, stacked on top of this layer, we've got this new animation layer, and you can expand that guy down if you don't want to see it. For this example, what we want to do is we want to actually start keyframing information into that layer. And you'll notice that when you expand this guy out, the channels that are on there are basically just that marker, that right arm controller's rotation and translation. If I wanted different things inside of here, I could have highlighted them in the channel box before I clicked the Create Additive Layer Override. But it's pretty smart. It knows that you're going to normally want translation and rotation on a node. So that's why it used that by default. So with that said, what we're going to do is we're going to just start animating a couple tweaks inside of here. So I know that his arm's kind of doing some weird stuff right here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and set a bounding key on that guy. So if we kind of have that highlighted, we can display our keys by clicking this little button right here at kind of a high level view. See the keys actually in the clip, which is really cool that, if you want the fine detail, you can dive in there and see it on each channel. Or if you want a high level kind of compressed view, you can just click this little button right here on the left side of the track to show it in the actual track, which is super, super cool. So we're going to kind of set another little bounding key sort of right around there, where that's going to end our tweak. And then we'll just kind of move back here and we'll just start adding in a little bit of animation tweaking to this guy. So a little rotation, a little bit of movement to kind of move it out of that kind of, big bobbly head look. And it looks like I need to kind of pull it out even more right here. So, you can kind of do some stuff like this and sort of get it looking, the way you want. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time refining this because it's more about getting the concept across here, that we were able to use that additive layer to make some really nice changes or some tweaks to that. Now, obviously, if you wanted to see the effect of this layer on and off, you have the ability to, kind of turn it on, turn it off, solo it. You can even adjust the weighting of it. Like if we want to have it contribute like 50%, you could drop that value down. But, some basic stuff but very, very powerful and very cool. That's really what this nonlinear editing environment brings to the table. So the other thing that's kind of neat about this is we can also get multiple clips in here, obviously. So right now what we've got is we've got the time editor driving our character. If I want to go back and start to remap some other animation on this character, I've got this idle move in here. If I want to get that idle move into my nonlinear editing environment, what we're going to do is we're actually going to turn off the effect of the time editor moving our character here. And we're going to switch our character input from none, which is basically the control rig, over to that idle character. So now if we kind of look at this guy, you can see that our idle character is driving the movement of our worker guy. So what we want to do is we want to bake that information onto that control rig so that we can bring it back down into the time editor. So we'll go ahead and we'll say bake onto the custom rig. It's going to kind of go through here and do that process. So that now that it's done that, we've now got that information baked on, and we can grab all of these guys right here and create a new clip. So we'll bring that clip in, which is our idle clip. So we're going to kind of move this clip off. And you can see that as I move that guy, it takes along for the ride, you know, all that cool animation tweaks that we did. And you'll notice as I scrub through my time slider down here, what's driving this character? Well, right now there's really nothing driving the character because we've taken the keyframe animation that lived on that control rig and brought it down into the time editor in the form of a clip, but we have that time editor disabled. It's no longer driving our character. So all we need to do is turn that guy back on, and now you can see that we've got our clip, clip 2, which is our idle clip, and we've got clip 1, which is our kind of hitting clip. And if we wanted to, we could actually do a little transition between these guys just by sort of overlapping them. Maybe we'll pull this one back into it a little bit. And you can see that it's going to do this transition, but their position isn't really correct. So what we want to do is we want to go ahead and just grab something that we want to use as an alignment point. We'll highlight this clip right here, and we're going to basically say, let's align those clips at the root, and we're going to make sure that we're going to blend in between clips, match rotation. All that's good. So we just say match on this guy. So now you can see that we've added in this nice little transition effect. So he's kind of in his idle, does a little transition effect and starts doing his hits and things like that, which is really, really pretty cool. So now that we have these two clips in our scene, what we want to do is we want to export these guys over to Unity, and we want them to automatically get connected in. So how do you do that? Well, we're going to use the game exporter to do this exporting process. So it's pretty similar to the send to, but it allows me to flag multiple clips and multiple time ranges. So it's really a kind of a batch exporter that we can use called the game exporter. So we'll go ahead and we'll bring that guy up. And with that done, we're going to tell it that we want to have it look to the time editor to export its clips out here. We're going to tell it to export out just the joint. So we're going to say instead of export all I'm caring about right now is getting the joint rotations and translations into Unity. So we're going to say export selection. The joints are all we need to send out in this file. I've got bake animation turned on, so this kind of ties back into that previous demo that we did where we were, baking on and leaving our Maya file pure. So it's kind of the same idea right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a clip. So if we just highlight clip 2, which is my idle clip, we'll kind of bring that guy in there. We'll add another clip into our export by highlighting it and click the add clip button. Our path is going to be this dude work and assets. So we'll just select that folder and we're going to give it a name called, so this is really important. If you give it a name, like the name of the model file, and you use the @ symbol, so dude @ and then you give it a name like moves, it's going to automatically take these this joint rotations when it comes into Unity and attach it to the dude model for me automatically just by using the name of the model with the @ symbol and then obviously the name of what I want the stuff to be called, in this example moves. So we just click export on this guy. It's going to go through and do the export for us. Now if we jump over into Unity, so what we've got going on now is we've actually got that animation file that's been brought into Unity, and they live in the form of these 2 clips. Those are 2 clips that we exported out. So if we just jump over to our layout and go to my preview window that I had set up here earlier, and we kind of scroll this guy down a little bit, you can see that we've got our animation inside of here, and we've got our 2 clips. So if we go and we play this guy back, that's going to be our animation clip 1. And then obviously if we just jump over here to animation clip 2, it's going to be our idle. So it goes through and it automatically, by using that kind of naming token, hooks the clips up to the model that we previously exported. And then obviously we've got both of our clips here. So this sets us up for the next demo that we'll be making, which will be working in Unity to set up a simple trigger system and kind of show you some basic blend trees that allow you to do that kind of blending animation between the idle pose and the hitting pose in the engine. So thank you again so much for taking the time to watch Journey to VR. Hope you guys are digging it. If you're checking this out on YouTube or on Vimeo, make sure you go back to the area, and on the area there is the Journey to VR blog. On that blog, I've made mini demos showing Max and Maya as well as game engines, doing kind of fun and cool things with AR and VR. We've also got a lot of really cool written articles and interviews with customers and thought leaders talking about what they think is super cool and exciting about VR and AR. So make sure you go check all that out on the area. Cheers, everybody.